Life begins when you find yourself. He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens. Carl Jung. Have you ever wondered if the life you're living is truly yours, or just a reflection of what others expect you to be? In today's video from Spiritual Wisdom, we'll explore one of Jung's most powerful truths. Life doesn't truly begin until you find yourself. This isn't just philosophy, it's a call to transformation. As you watch, ask yourself, what part of me have I been ignoring? If this message resonates, comment below with, I am ready to find myself, and share how you're beginning to live more authentically. Your journey starts now. Let's walk it together. 1. The false self and social conditioning. From early childhood, we are shaped by invisible hands, family expectations, cultural norms, and societal rules, all pressing us to conform. We're taught what is acceptable and what is not. Slowly, without even realizing it, we begin to edit ourselves. We hide our wildness, our questions, our tears, and even our dreams just to be loved, approved of, or simply to avoid rejection. This suppression is not a conscious decision. It's survival. Over time, we construct a version of ourselves that functions well in the world, but feels empty inside. Carl Jung called this version the persona, a mask we wear to gain social approval, a role we play to avoid judgment. And yet, while the world applauds this mask, the authentic self quietly disappears into the shadows. The deeper tragedy is that many people go through life never realizing the extent to which they've been conditioned. They chase degrees, relationships, careers, even spiritual practices, thinking they are making free choices, when in truth, they are simply obeying the scripts handed to them. They mistake their success for fulfillment, only to find that despite having everything, something vital is missing. That missing piece is the true self, the part that was silenced, buried, or forgotten. It's the voice that says, this isn't really me. And until that voice is heard, no amount of external validation will ever feel like enough. Spiritual wisdom teaches that life begins not when we are born, but when we start remembering who we truly are. This remembering requires courage, the courage to question, to confront, and to break away. You begin by asking, whose life am I living? And when the answer shocks you, you don't run. You listen. You listen to the memories you avoided, the longings you dismissed, the feelings you numbed. Because those are the breadcrumbs that lead you back home. The home within. The process of returning to the self isn't glamorous. It's often messy, emotional, and lonely. You might outgrow relationships. You might disappoint your family. You might lose the false comfort of fitting in. But what you gain in return is real. Clarity, peace, freedom. You stop performing. You stop pleasing. You stop living in fragments. And in their place, you begin to live in wholeness. Your yes means yes. Your no means no. Your presence feels different, not louder, but deeper. People may not understand you, but they feel your truth. And in that truth lies your power. This is the essence of awakening, not to become someone new, but to remove what you are not. To dissolve the lies that kept you small. To reclaim the parts of you that were cast aside in order to survive. This is the path of spiritual wisdom. It is not a path for everyone, but it is the only path for those who want to feel alive, not just exist. Have you ever questioned the mask you wear in daily life? If you've begun uncovering your authentic self, Share your experience in the comments to inspire others on the same path. If you haven't yet, simply comment, "I choose to unmask," to declare your commitment to living more truthfully. Let's awaken together. 2. The Shadow and Repression. The shadow, as Carl Jung defines it, is not some distant concept, but a deeply personal reality composed of all the parts of ourselves we try to hide, deny, or suppress. These aren't only our fears or flaws. They include our unspoken desires, buried traumas, and even our hidden strengths. What we refuse to face doesn't vanish. It sinks below the surface of our awareness and begins to shape our lives in silence. We think we're in control, but the truth is, the shadow operates like an unseen puppeteer, pulling emotional strings through projections, triggers, and irrational reactions. You might notice it when you judge someone harshly for traits you were taught to reject in yourself. The confident coworker who rubs you the wrong way might reflect the assertiveness you've long repressed. The overly sensitive friend may stir discomfort in you because you were once punished for expressing emotion. These everyday encounters reveal the power of the unconscious. The more we deny these buried parts of ourselves, the louder they become, not with words, but through repeated emotional patterns and life experiences that challenge us to pay attention. Modern life makes shadow work both more difficult and more necessary. In a world that rewards conformity and image, we're encouraged to polish ourselves into acceptable versions, editing out the wild, the raw, the real. But doing so fractures the soul. People wear smiles while silently burning out. They chase success while ignoring the quiet voice, urging them to rest or create or change paths. They reject feelings like anger, jealousy, or fear, unaware that those emotions are not signs of weakness, but messages from the shadow asking to be heard, honored, and integrated. Carl Jung didn't believe in perfection. He believed in wholeness, and wholeness doesn't come from pretending to be only the light. It comes from embracing the dark too. Integration requires courage. It's the willingness to stop running from yourself and instead ask, what part of me have I disowned? Healing begins not when we fix ourselves, but when we become radically honest. Not to shame, but to reclaim. Even your pain can be a portal. What wounds you may also wake you. Beneath every suppressed emotion is energy. And when that energy is brought into the light of consciousness, it becomes power. The anger you feared may actually be your boundary. The fear you avoided may be your instinct. The grief you buried may be your deepest source of compassion. Jung called this the gold in the shadow. You are not just your surface self. There is a vast, unexplored world within you waiting to be known, not controlled. This is the essence of spiritual wisdom, not to rise above your humanity, but to descend into it fully and emerge with understanding. The shadow is not your enemy. It's your invitation. An invitation to return to yourself, to stop hiding, and to live from a place of integrated truth. When you bring awareness to the unconscious, you shift the direction of your life. No longer reactive, no longer projecting, you become sovereign. As Jung said, life begins when you find yourself. And finding yourself begins by turning toward what you once turned away from. Comment below, I embrace my shadow, if you're ready to face what you've hidden and reclaim your true power. Let this be your first step toward inner wholeness. 3. The Journey of Individuation. Individuation, as Carl Jung described it, is not about self-improvement, but about becoming whole. It's the sacred process of integrating every part of who you are, the joyful and the wounded, the light and the shadow. Most people misunderstand growth as a journey toward becoming better, when in truth, it's about becoming honest. You don't need to upgrade yourself into someone else's version of enough. You need to meet yourself, perhaps for the first time, with raw honesty and deep compassion. A true spiritual awakening begins when you stop running from discomfort. Pain, confusion, and even fear are not enemies. They are messengers, each holding a piece of the truth you've buried beneath survival. When you ignore or reject those parts of yourself, you divide your soul. But when you turn inward with open eyes, you begin to remember who you were before the world taught you to forget. The journey of individuation is a sacred invitation, not to become better, but to become real. The shadow, a term Jung used to describe the unconscious parts of us we disown, is not evil. It is simply unseen. Until we bring it to light, it continues to control our behavior, limit our relationships, and shape our sense of destiny without our awareness. But when we face it not with judgment, but with love, it transforms. This is why facing yourself honestly is one of the most courageous acts you will ever do. Because when you stop pretending, healing begins. You cannot become whole if you deny half of yourself. Imagine living in a house where only a few lights are ever turned on. You would keep bumping into things, mistaking shadows for threats. But the moment you illuminate every room, every emotion, memory, and truth, you begin to navigate life with clarity. That is what individuation offers. Clarity, not perfection. Integration, not suppression. And wholeness, not fragmentation. This is where life truly begins, not when everything feels good, but when you finally become strong enough to feel it all. To stand in your truth without apology. To walk through fear without needing to armor your heart. You become untouchable, not by building walls, but by becoming so rooted in your authenticity that nothing external can shake you. In the end, this journey is not about achieving something outside yourself. It is about returning to who you've always been beneath the noise. It is a homecoming to your own soul. And once you arrive, you will never again be willing to abandon yourself for anyone or anything. That is the quiet power of spiritual awakening. The moment you stop hiding is the moment you start living. Are you ready to become whole and embrace your true self? If so, comment below. I choose to face myself, to affirm your commitment to the journey of individuation. Let this be your first step toward inner truth and authentic transformation. 4. The role of the unconscious. The unconscious mind is not merely a storage of forgotten thoughts. It is a living, breathing realm of hidden truths. Beneath our daily awareness, it quietly shapes our reactions, beliefs, and emotional patterns. Carl Jung taught that the unconscious holds not only suppressed wounds from childhood, but also unacknowledged desires and truths we were never taught to face. These unseen elements don't disappear. They operate in the background, directing your life in ways you cannot control until you choose to illuminate them. That tight feeling of anxiety you can't explain, the subtle sabotage of your own success, or the recurring sense of being lost, they are not coincidences. They are the fingerprints of the unconscious, asking to be seen. Many of the cycles we relive, like attracting the same kind of pain in different relationships, or repeatedly falling into procrastination, are not flaws in character, but echoes from the unconscious. Without understanding where these patterns come from, we live on autopilot, falsely believing that this is just the way life is. But through spiritual wisdom, we begin to understand that these patterns are not punishments. They are messages. The life you long for cannot unfold until the unconscious becomes conscious. That's why the path of spiritual awakening isn't just about meditation or positive thinking. It's about turning toward the shadows you've been taught to ignore. Dreams are the gateway. Jung saw dreams not as random mental static, but as deeply intentional messages from the unconscious. In dreams, the truth that your waking mind avoids is spoken through symbols, archetypes, and emotion. You may dream of being chased, of falling, of flying, of encountering strange figures, each a mirror of your inner terrain. When interpreted with care, these symbols reveal what the unconscious already knows: where you're hurting, what you need, and who you really are beneath the roles you've been playing. This is where spiritual wisdom becomes transformational. It's not abstract theory, it's the roadmap home. Symbols show up beyond dreams too, in the art you're drawn to, the stories that move you, the emotional triggers that won't let go. Everything your unconscious creates is rooted in purpose. Every recurring emotion is an unopened letter from the soul. When you avoid these messages, you remain fragmented, chasing fulfillment in the outer world. But when you face them, you reclaim pieces of yourself. Through journaling, introspection, and attention to your inner life, you begin to integrate the parts you once rejected. And integration is power, not domination over others, but mastery of self. True spiritual wisdom teaches that healing is not found in escaping pain, but in embracing it with clarity. You don't need to become someone new. You need to remember who you were before fear taught you to hide. The unconscious does not exist to punish you. It exists to guide you back to wholeness. As you journey deeper into it, you don't just discover the roots of your suffering, you awaken the source of your strength. That is the essence of individuation. That is where life, real life, begins. If this message resonates with your soul, and you're ready to uncover the truth within, repeat after me. I am ready to explore my unconscious. I trust what it reveals is meant to heal me. Let this be your first step toward transformation. 5. Archetypes, universal patterns within. Carl Jung believed that within each of us live ancient universal patterns called archetypes, timeless energies like the hero, the shadow, the mentor, and more. These forces don't arise from personal experience alone, but from the collective memory of humanity. Jung called this deep reservoir of shared memory the collective unconscious. It shapes how we think, how we relate, how we dream, and how we act often without our knowing. These archetypes act as inner templates, silently scripting our reactions, beliefs, and desires. The tragedy is that most people live out these patterns unconsciously, never realizing they're being driven by something far older and deeper than they imagined. The hero archetype pushes us to grow, take risks, and transcend our limitations. But before the hero can rise, the shadow must be confronted. The shadow is the part of us we disown, the fears we bury, the anger we hide, the pain we deny. It's the voice that says we're not good enough, not worthy, not ready. It's seductive in its comfort because it promises safety through avoidance. Yet Jung made it clear, what we resist persists. Only by facing the shadow does the hero within truly awaken. Take a young woman who appears to be successful, stable job, social approval, a life that looks ideal from the outside. But inside, she feels restless, disconnected, like she's living someone else's dream. That silent tension is the hero calling out, desperate to break free from the roles she's been conditioned to play. Her shadow, however, keeps whispering doubt, replaying every past failure, reminding her of the cost of change. She's not alone. Millions live in this quiet conflict, unknowingly caught in an archetypal struggle. The hero's journey, made famous by mythology and modern storytelling, lives inside each of us. It's not just about slaying dragons or finding treasure. It's the spiritual journey of self-integration, of making the unconscious conscious, of befriending your fear, of claiming the truth buried beneath your patterns. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Once you see the archetypes moving through you, you stop being a puppet of your past and begin becoming the author of your future. Spiritual wisdom teaches us that healing isn't about deleting parts of ourselves. It's about learning how to live with awareness, with intention, with compassion for every voice within. When you can pause in a difficult moment and ask, who is speaking through me right now? The wounded child, the abandoned lover, the silent sage, you begin to reclaim your power. You're no longer just reacting, you're choosing. And choice is where freedom begins. Carl Jung left us a map not of the world, but of the soul. To follow it is to walk the hero's path inward, through the confusion of the ego, into the clarity of integrated being. Only then does life truly begin, not when you change who you are, but when you finally understand what's been living inside you all along. Leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss powerful insights like this. If you're ready to awaken the hero within and live with deeper awareness, type in the comments, I embrace my inner archetypes. 6. The Thema and Animus, inner balance. Within every man lives the anima, the quiet, intuitive, emotional essence that holds the key to compassion and connection. And within every woman resides the animus, the decisive, bold, and assertive force that gives shape to courage and direction. These are not roles to perform, but energies to embrace. When we reject one half of ourselves, we don't become stronger, we become fragmented. A man who denies his anima often becomes emotionally detached, unable to access tenderness or vulnerability. A woman who suppresses her animus may struggle to speak her truth or take up space in the world. This split doesn't just affect behavior, it stunts the soul. Spiritual awakening begins when we recognize that our inner balance holds the power to transform not only how we relate to ourselves, but also how we show up in the world. Integration is the sacred act of wholeness, inviting both our feminine and masculine energies to coexist in harmony. Jung understood this when he wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Without knowing it, the neglected inner masculine or feminine silently dictates our choices, our pain, our patterns. But when we become aware, we gain the power to rewrite the story. In a world that teaches men to harden and women to yield, we must become conscious rebels. The spiritual path demands that we reclaim what we were told to suppress. True strength is not domination, it's balance. Real clarity doesn't come from pushing emotions away. It comes from listening to them without fear. To embrace your anima is to soften the armor, to let empathy and intuition guide your steps. To welcome your animus is to trust your voice, to act with resolve and speak with purpose. When these two forces dance together within, life becomes fluid, purposeful, and whole. Imagine a woman raised to be pleasing, agreeable, and quiet. Her animus has been buried beneath layers of shoulds and musts. But as she awakens spiritually, she begins to feel the fire she once feared. She starts setting boundaries, saying no, chasing dreams she once silenced. This is not rebellion, it's remembrance. Or picture a man taught never to cry, never to doubt. He has shut the door on his anima for years. Yet the day he allows himself to grieve, to feel deeply, he discovers a kind of strength no toughness ever gave him. This is not weakness, it's return. Spiritual wisdom is not about becoming someone new. It's about reclaiming the lost halves of yourself. When the anima and animus unite, you stop seeking balance in the world because you found it within. Integration brings emotional depth and inner power. It gives you the ability to listen deeply and act clearly. That's the mark of true transformation, not perfection, but wholeness. And that's where real life begins. Now, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and bring your awareness to the stillness within. Feel the balance of your inner masculine and feminine energies. Repeat after me. I honor both the anima and the animus within me. I am whole. If this message resonates with you, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any future insights on your journey to inner harmony. 7. The illusion of a fixed identity. The greatest illusion is the belief that you are a fixed self, unchanging, clearly defined, and separate from the world around you. This illusion, deeply ingrained by society and reinforced by the ego, convinces you that you must cling to a singular identity, a single story about who you are. But Carl Jung, along with ancient mystics, revealed a much deeper truth. The self is not solid, but fluid. You are not a static character in a script. You are a stream of consciousness, constantly evolving, expanding, and dissolving into the larger field of being. Spiritual wisdom teaches us that the more we identify with a rigid self, the more we disconnect from the infinite nature of who we truly are. The ego, in its attempt to protect and control, creates artificial walls. It assigns you roles, labels, and titles, each one acting like bricks in a psychological prison. I am this. I am not that. I can never change. These become unconscious mantras that limit your potential. And yet, these identities are often built out of fear and repetition rather than truth. The ego is afraid of the unknown, so it clings to what is familiar. But what is familiar is not always what is right for your soul. The more you defend these old stories, the more you resist the very transformation your spirit is calling you toward. Jung believed that the self is not an isolated island, but part of a vast sea of consciousness. In this view, spiritual awakening is not about finding a final version of yourself. It's about remembering that you were never separate to begin with. Your pain, your confusion, your growth, all of it exists within a dynamic process of becoming. Like waves rising and falling, you are meant to move, shift, and expand. Holding on to a fixed self is like trying to freeze the ocean. It is not only impossible, it is unnatural. The tragedy is that many people live their entire lives trying to preserve an identity that no longer fits. They cling to the version of themselves that once brought safety, approval, or survival. But what once protected you may now be the very thing preventing your evolution. Growth demands surrender. It requires shedding the skin of who you were so that who you truly are can breathe. And this is not weakness, it is wisdom. True spiritual wisdom does not come from defending your identity. It comes from dissolving it into truth. To live authentically, you must be willing to question your roles, your beliefs, and the stories you inherited. You must ask, who am I when the labels fall away? Who am I when I stop performing? When you become curious rather than attached, everything changes. You begin to see that you are not the mask. You are the awareness behind it. You are not the story. You are the storyteller. You are not your past. You are the space where transformation happens. And in that space, you finally remember. Life is not about becoming someone. It is about unbecoming everything you are not. That is where true freedom begins. That is the path of awakening. If this message has stirred something deep within you, leave a comment of truth. I am not my labels. I am evolving, expanding, and connected to something greater. Let go of the old stories and step into the freedom of who you are becoming. 8. The true self is vast and timeless. You are not your job title, your social persona, or even the sum of your past experiences. These are fragments of temporary roles you've learned to play. Beneath them all exists something far more profound. Carl Jung taught that the true self is vast and timeless, rooted not in external identity, but in an eternal core that connects you to something larger than yourself. This self isn't just a concept. It is the totality of who you are, conscious and unconscious, light and shadow, personal and collective. It carries inherited wisdom, ancestral patterns, and the archetypal knowledge of humanity itself. The process of discovering this deeper self requires shedding the false layers that you've built up over the years. Society teaches you to define yourself by surface achievements, external validation, and roles designed to keep you accepted, but these are masks. They protect you, yes, but they also imprison you. Jung emphasized that real transformation begins when you consciously let go of these illusions and allow the unconscious to emerge. Only then can you begin to feel the depth and power of who you truly are. Take, for example, someone like Mia, a high-performing designer whose life looked perfect on the outside. Her calendar was full, her portfolio impressive, but inwardly, she felt numb. It wasn't until a period of burnout forced her to slow down that she rediscovered a forgotten part of herself. A child who once painted freely without judgment. That moment of reconnection was not trivial. It was the beginning of her individuation. Through dreams, therapy, and honest reflection, she peeled back the layers of conditioning and met her deeper self. She didn't become someone new. She returned to who she had always been. Jung believed that individuation, the integration of unconscious material into conscious life, is the soul's journey toward wholeness. This is not a path of self-improvement, but of self-realization. It is not about fixing yourself. It is about remembering yourself. As you move through this process, you may feel resistance, confusion, even fear. But these are signs that something meaningful is shifting. Your ego wants control, but your self seeks truth. And truth often requires letting go of certainty and stepping into mystery. Spiritual wisdom shows us that transformation is not a one-time event. It is a way of living moment by moment, choice by choice. The more you honor your inner knowing, the less you need the world's approval. You begin to act from authenticity, not habit. You become grounded, not just in who you are, but in why you are here. The false self clings. The true self flows. And in that flow, you begin to experience life not as something you chase, but as something that unfolds through you. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That privilege begins when you stop performing and start listening, when you stop defining yourself by what you do, and start recognizing who you are. Beneath the noise of the world and the chatter of your mind, your true self waits eternal, wise, and unshakably whole. If this message reminded you that you are more than your roles and labels, you're a vast, timeless soul, then don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom that awakens your true potential. Let's walk this path of transformation together. 9. How to awaken and break free. To begin the journey of spiritual awakening, you must first embrace the unknown. Most people resist what they can't predict or control, clinging to certainty as if it guarantees safety. But true growth only happens in the presence of uncertainty. When you stop trying to define every experience and instead lean into the mystery, life begins to unfold in a way that's richer and more authentic than you ever imagined. The unknown is not a threat, it's an invitation. Carl Jung once said, "In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order." When you welcome the chaos without needing to solve it immediately, you allow a deeper truth to emerge. The next step is letting go of fixed labels and roles. Maybe you've spent years being the responsible one, the achiever, the caretaker, or the rebel identities assigned to you by your family, culture, or past experiences. But those labels are not the truth of who you are. They are survival strategies, masks meant to earn love or avoid pain. The process of spiritual awakening demands that you question each of them. Are you really that role? Or have you simply forgotten that you're so much more than what the world expects of you? Finding yourself is not about adding something new. It's about shedding everything false. Listening to the unconscious is how you begin to hear your soul again. Your dreams, your gut feelings, those moments of synchronicity, they all hold messages from the deeper parts of your psyche. Jung called this the path of individuation, the sacred return to the self. In a world that shouts constantly for your attention, learning to listen inward is an act of rebellion and of freedom. Your unconscious holds the blueprint of who you truly are. It's speaking through symbols, images, and feelings. The more you ignore it, the more distant you become from your truth. But the more you honor it, the more whole you become. Surrendering to the process is perhaps the hardest part. Awakening is not linear. It's not a straight path upward. It's a spiral that revisits old wounds from new levels of consciousness. There will be setbacks that feel like failures and insights that feel like miracles. One day, you'll feel expanded and clear, and the next, you might feel like you've lost all progress. But this is the nature of deep transformation. Jung believed that what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. Surrender isn't giving up, it's giving in to the wisdom of the journey. Trust that the process itself is shaping you into someone capable of holding deeper love, clarity, and power. You were never meant to stay the same. The soul longs to evolve. Every part of this unfolding, every release of an old belief, every question you dare to ask Every emotion you allow yourself to feel is part of the sacred return to yourself. Spiritual awakening isn't about becoming better. It's about becoming real. And once you commit to this path, life will never be the same again. To affirm your commitment to awakening and inner freedom, comment below, "I choose to awaken." Let this be your declaration, one step closer to breaking free from old patterns and stepping into your true self. Your words may inspire someone else to begin their own journey. 10. Final revelation. You were never lost. You were never truly lost. Beneath every moment of confusion, every identity shaped by fear or approval, your real self has always been present, quiet, waiting, whole. You didn't have to become someone new to find peace. You only had to return to what has always been within you. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that is not a destination. It is an awakening, a spiritual wisdom that arises when you stop seeking externally and start remembering internally. From childhood, you were handed roles. Be good, be quiet, be what others expect. You learned to survive by adapting, by silencing your inner voice and performing according to the script written by others. Slowly, the mask became a second skin. Yet, beneath the surface, something restless remained. That quiet unrest, that subtle discomfort, it was your soul knocking, asking you to come home. You see, spiritual awakening doesn't begin with learning something new. It begins with unlearning who you were told to be. Life only begins when you dare to live from your real identity, not the one shaped by fear, trauma, or societal pressure, but the one anchored in truth. And truth doesn't shout. It whispers through intuition, through dreams, through moments when the outer world falls silent and your inner world speaks. That's when you feel it, the power, the softness, the clarity. Your real identity is not about status or approval. It is the wholeness that exists when all your parts, your shadow, your strength, your wounds, your gifts are allowed to coexist without shame. That's where freedom lives. The choice is yours. You can keep living fragmented, wearing masks, hiding pain, chasing validation, or you can step into the raw, honest fullness of who you were meant to be. And that fullness is not about perfection. It's about integration. Jung taught that wholeness is the goal, not being flawless, but being fully alive. When you stop compartmentalizing and start embracing every part of your being, something miraculous happens. You begin to experience a life that flows, not forces. You move with inner peace, not external pressure. You stop surviving and start living. You were never lost. You only fell asleep to your essence, but now you are remembering. And that remembrance is your return, not to who the world wanted you to be, but to who you always were. That is the deepest spiritual wisdom, that your soul was never broken, only buried. And now, as you rise truthfully, wholly, unapologetically, you reclaim your life, not as a performance, but as a sacred embodiment of your true self. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the profound teachings of Carl Jung. Remember, life doesn't truly begin until you find yourself, until you peel back the layers of expectation, fear, and illusion to uncover the essence of who you really are. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about coming home to yourself. If this message resonated with you, help us spread the light. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Make sure to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the powerful insights we have coming next. Your path to deeper self-awareness is just beginning, and we're honored to walk it with you. The hidden message in synchronicities. 5 different types of synchronicity. Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see. Carl Jung. Have you ever experienced a strange coincidence so meaningful it left you speechless, like the universe whispered directly to you? Today's video dives into the powerful and mysterious phenomenon of synchronicity, inspired by the story of Anthony Hopkins and the book that seemingly found its way to him. As we explore 5 different types of synchronicities and their hidden messages, you'll discover how these signs aren't just random. They're invitations to align with your higher self and the rhythm of the universe. So, pay close attention. You might realize the universe has been speaking to you all along. Have you ever experienced a synchronicity that felt too precise to be chance? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss more insights from spiritual wisdom. Now, let's begin. 1. Warning or alert synchronicity. Some call it coincidence, others call it fate. But in the realm of spiritual awakening, there's a deeper truth that often goes unnoticed. The universe speaks through signs, and these signs are not random. They are synchronicities and intelligent patterns designed to guide, warn, and awaken us. One of the most powerful types is the warning or alert synchronicity. This kind of synchronicity often emerges in moments of inner conflict right before a critical decision, during high-stress periods, or when we're unknowingly standing at a fork in the road that could redefine our entire destiny. In such moments, the energy around us becomes unstable, as if reality itself is offering us a gentle nudge or a firm push away from potential danger. What we experience as frustration or delay might actually be divine redirection. Picture this: you're about to purchase a house. Everything on paper looks perfect. Low cost, great location, a deal too good to pass up. But on the day you're supposed to finalize it, your car won't start. It's annoying, sure, but you take a taxi and witness a serious accident en route. Then, arriving at the bank near the property, you see police entering a house next door. It rattles you. Something feels off. And with that uneasy gut feeling, you decide to walk away. Weeks later, you find out the area is riddled with legal problems, gang activity, or perhaps severe structural issues that were well hidden. That delayed the stalled car, the disturbing signs, the weird timing wasn't bad luck. It was spiritual intelligence at work. It was a synchronistic warning that steered you clear of a negative timeline. As men navigate the pressures of leadership, providing for our families, and shaping a meaningful legacy, it's easy to overlook the subtle ways the spiritual realm tries to get our attention. But the truth is, many of the best decisions we make are the ones we don't go through with, and it's often synchronicity that quietly intervenes. In a fast-moving world filled with noise, pausing to reflect on these moments is not weakness, it's wisdom. So if something doesn't feel right, if the timing is off, or life throws up red flags just when you're about to commit, listen closely. These experiences are not random. They are part of your spiritual path, helping you grow into a person who can navigate life not just with logic, but with a deeper, more intuitive understanding. Any delay, interruption, or detour can be a signal to recalibrate your course. It's not superstition, it's spiritual strategy. As you continue on your spiritual awakening path, learn to recognize these moments not as obstacles, but as divine signals. And remember, every synchronicity is a conversation between your higher self and the universe. If you embrace this message, comment below, "I embrace synchronicity." 2. Confirmation, synchronicity. When you're on the edge of change, when your heart is stirring with courage and your spirit is daring to believe in a new version of yourself, confirmation synchronicities show up like quiet applause from the universe. Unlike warning signs that signal red flags or danger, these spiritual messages affirm your inner alignment. They're the subtle whispers of reassurance that you are walking the right path in your journey of spirituality and spiritual growth. You might be stepping into unfamiliar territory. Maybe it's a new relationship, a career pivot, or finally choosing to speak your truth. At that vulnerable moment, you receive a sign. Perhaps it's a repeated phrase from strangers, a number pattern you keep seeing, or even a butterfly landing softly on your hand, just like it did for someone who finally launched a business idea that had scared and inspired them for months. On that very day of commitment, 2 butterflies landed on their hands as they overheard someone nearby saying, "You've done the right thing." Coincidence? Not quite. This is confirmation synchronicity, an energetic mirror that reflects back the truth of your brave decision. It's life saying, "Keep going." What makes these synchronicities so powerful is their timing. They don't appear when we're stuck in fear or hesitation. They emerge the moment we commit with clarity, and that's key. They're not about external proof, but about internal readiness. The moment your energy shifts, the outer world responds. Think about it. Have you ever made a bold decision, and then suddenly the right person called? Or a message arrived at the perfect moment to calm your nerves? These are not just coincidences. They are reflections of your expanded consciousness meeting the flow of divine timing. The universe always listens, but confirmation synchronicities appear when you start listening back with trust, with presence, and with an open heart. A man once shared that after ending a long-term job that drained his soul, he sat alone in a park, wondering if he'd made a mistake. Just then, a dog ran up to him, dropped a stick, and stared with eyes full of joy, waiting for him to play. The owner shouted from afar, "He only does that when he really likes someone." It wasn't just cute, it was cosmic affirmation. That moment of connection reminded him that he'd chosen freedom, and life was already responding in kind. It's through moments like these that we realize spiritual growth isn't just about meditation or reading sacred texts. It's about listening to the language of life and trusting the signs that are tailored for your journey. So, ask yourself, when was the last time life confirmed your path? Were you paying attention, or were you too distracted by fear to notice? You don't have to go searching for signs. Instead, focus on aligning with your truth. Act from the soul, and the signs will follow. Confirmation. Synchronicities are not magic tricks. They are spiritual echoes of your own evolution. The more you grow, the more clearly you'll see that the universe speaks in symbols, timing, and emotion. Trust that when your spirit speaks clearly, life listens and responds with unmistakable grace. When you walk in spiritual integrity, the world around you becomes your mirror. Stay committed to your growth, take aligned risks, and look for the affirming signs. They won't always come in dramatic flashes. Sometimes it's just a gentle nudge, a word on a billboard, or a stranger's smile, but they all carry the same message. Yes, you're on the right path. Let that be your fuel. Let that be your reminder that spirituality is not a destination. It's a relationship with the unseen. Keep walking forward and let the universe walk with you. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. What is your perspective on the importance of this value? Share your insights and let's continue this conversation. 3. Prophetic Synchronicity. Let's talk about something truly mysterious, yet deeply personal: prophetic synchronicity, also known as spiritual omens or symbolic messages from the universe. Carl Jung, the pioneer of analytical psychology, once said, "Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see." That quote captures the essence of what we're exploring here. Moments when reality whispers through symbols, numbers, dreams, or signs that seem to appear out of nowhere but arrive right on time. Have you ever seen the same number pattern pop up repeatedly, like 1111 on the clock, or 333s on a license plate, and felt like it meant something, even if you couldn't quite explain what? That's not just a coincidence. That's prophetic synchronicity, one of the deepest forms of spiritual wisdom the universe uses to communicate with you. These synchronicities often show up during periods of emotional intensity or transition, when you're at a crossroads, questioning your path, or secretly hoping for a sign. They could come as a vivid dream, a stranger's exact words echoing your private thoughts, or a recurring animal or symbol that resonates with your inner state. And while the sign may seem external, its true meaning comes from within. That's the spiritual twist. It's not about what the sign is, it's about what it awakens in you. Unlike random coincidences, prophetic synchronicities often feel charged with meaning. They nudge you, confirm your gut feelings, or gently warn you to pause before taking a wrong turn. However, as Carl Jung taught us, the language of the soul is symbolic, not literal, so these signs require interpretation. This is why keeping a personal synchronicity journal is so important. When you track these moments over time, you'll start to see patterns that speak directly to your consciousness and your evolving spiritual journey. Just like dreams, these signs are fragments of your deeper self trying to surface. And here's where it gets fascinating. Many people who experience spiritual awakenings report that their synchronicities increase in frequency and clarity. Why? Because the more aligned you become with your soul's truth, the more sensitive you become to the language of the universe. In those moments, your inner world and outer reality dance together in harmony, and that dance is the essence of prophetic synchronicity. Have you ever experienced a moment that felt too perfectly timed to be random? A sign that left you speechless or deeply moved? What if that was the universe confirming that you are exactly where you need to be? In times like these, spiritual wisdom invites you not to brush it off, but to listen deeper, reflect, and ask, what is this sign trying to show me about myself, my path, or my next step? The more you honor these moments with presence and curiosity, the more the language of synchronicity opens up to you, not as something magical, but as a reflection of your growing connection to consciousness itself. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to like this video and share it with others who might need these great values. Let's continue this conversation and go deeper into what these values really mean. 4. Manifestation Synchronicity. They say, what you seek is seeking you. And nowhere is that more evident than in what we call manifestation synchronicity is a deeply spiritual phenomenon that speaks to the mysterious power of your thoughts, your energy, and your conscious intention. This type of synchronicity unfolds when something you've merely thought about or silently desired suddenly appears in your physical world without logical explanation. You might think of an old friend you haven't seen in over 10 years, and without reaching out, you bump into him at the grocery store the next day. Or you quietly wish for a rare book that's out of print, only to find it resting on a public bench. These are not simply coincidences. They are signs that your inner world is more deeply connected to external reality than you've been led to believe. In spiritual terms, they are the universe's response to your focused intention, a mirror reflecting back what your soul is energetically transmitting. And this leads to a profound question. Did your mind foresee what would happen, or did your desire cause the event to unfold? This is where the mystery deepens. According to certain interpretations in quantum physics, particularly those influenced by the observer effect, your consciousness doesn't just witness reality, it has the power to influence it. Some researchers even suggest that under specific conditions, our conscious focus might bend the flow of time itself, subtly rewriting fragments of the past to align with our present intention. That may sound like science fiction, but spiritual awakening is, in many ways, the process of realizing just how powerful and interconnected you truly are. When you experience manifestation synchronicity, it's not just about getting what you want. It's a wake-up call from the universe that says, your thoughts matter, your energy has weight, and your desires shape your destiny. And in today's world, where so many people feel powerless or stuck in routines, recognizing this power can be the first spark that leads to deeper self-awareness and a more intentional life. But here's the catch. This isn't just about thinking positively or wishing hard enough. It's about energetic alignment. If you're filled with doubt, fear, or resistance, you'll likely attract more confusion than clarity. But when your inner world is calm, clear, and aligned with purpose, synchronicities begin to multiply. So ask yourself today, what am I focusing on? What energy am I radiating into the world? Because whether you're aware of it or not, the universe is listening, and it responds not to your words, but to your vibration. Accepting this truth requires not only faith, but also responsibility. You are not a passive observer of life. You are a co-creator of it. And every moment of spiritual growth brings you closer to mastering that co-creation. So if you have experienced one of these strange alignments where your thoughts become your reality, know that it is not just luck. It is a sign that your spiritual awakening is taking place, and that life is inviting you to join in the process of opening up to a much deeper truth. If you join in this process, please comment below. I choose this wonderful energy. 5. Opportunity synchronicities. There's something almost magical about those moments when the right door opens just as you're ready to walk through it. These are what we call opportunity synchronicities. Those uplifting, soul-affirming events when preparation meets divine timing. You may have spent weeks or even years working quietly on your skills, dreams, or inner self. And then suddenly, the right job appears. The right person reaches out, or the right idea clicks into place. It's not coincidence. It's a reflection of your energy, aligning with the flow of the universe. One of the most beautiful aspects of spirituality is the realization that the universe doesn't just operate on logic, it responds to who you are becoming. These moments often arrive with a sense of peace and certainty, where everything feels like it's unfolding effortlessly, and you just know in your heart that you're meant to follow this path. Carl Jung once said, "When you are on the path of your soul, coincidences happen to encourage you." So ask yourself, have you experienced this kind of alignment recently, where everything just seemed to work out perfectly? And if not, could it be that you're in a season of preparation, laying the foundation for synchronicities to bloom? Let me share a quick story. There was a man in his late 30s who had quietly been studying graphic design in his spare time, even though his full-time job was in customer service. He never talked much about it, just worked on his craft at night. Then one afternoon, while helping a difficult customer, he casually mentioned a design he was working on. The customer, as it turns out, owned a boutique branding agency and asked to see his portfolio. That one moment of alignment being ready and open led to a full-time creative career that changed his life. It wasn't forced. It wasn't planned. It was spiritual growth in motion, where who he had become inside finally mirrored what he was ready to receive on the outside. These kinds of synchronicities don't just make life easier. They validate your inner work. They whisper to your spirit, "You're on the right path. Keep going." So here's something to reflect on. Are you truly prepared for the opportunity you're asking for? Are your intentions clear, your energy aligned, and your actions in harmony with your vision? Because when you cultivate awareness and commit to your own growth, the universe responds. That's the heart of spirituality. It's not about forcing outcomes, but about aligning with who you're meant to be so that what's meant for you can find you. Stay grounded in your truth. Stay open to the unexpected. And remember that every small act of growth is preparing you for something greater. You never know when the next opportunity for synchronicity will appear. But when it does, you'll recognize it as a sign that your spiritual journey is unfolding exactly as it should. If this message speaks to you, take it a step further and share it with someone who might need this reminder. Together, we can build connections rooted in honesty and respect. As we've explored in this video, synchronicities aren't just random events. They're meaningful messages guiding you toward growth, alignment, and deeper purpose. From dream symbols to repeated numbers, these 5 types of synchronicity remind us that life is always speaking to us if we're willing to listen. Keep a journal, reflect often, and stay open to the mystery. The more you align with your inner truth, the more the universe responds in kind. Have you noticed any synchronicities in your own life recently? Share your experiences in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. And if this video sparked something within you, don't forget to like, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the bell so you won't miss what's coming next on your journey of awakening.